Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us over your lunch hour today for WGI's Career Conversations series. I am Will Schneer. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for WGI. We're thrilled to have you join us today and eager to connect you with some of the young professionals who are driving the growth and results for WGI. WGI is a multidiscipline professional services firm leading our profession in technology-based design solutions for the construction of public infrastructure and real estate development. At WGI, we like to say that we are providing tomorrow's infrastructure solutions today. The built environment and the process by which we envision, design, and build infrastructure is changing faster than ever. With over 600 professionals spread across 18 offices in some of the most desirable locations in the country, WGI is at the leading edge of this sea change. When COVID-19 appeared this past spring, many things changed. Notably among them is the absence of face-to-face gatherings, including the traditional college career fair setting. As a university student or recent college graduate, the opportunity to meet with employers face-to-face evaporated. So we looked around and asked ourselves, how can we add value to the students and recent graduates preparing to join the workforce? The answer for us came in the form of hosting our own events online and inviting students from across the country to join us for a virtual meet and greet. Thus, Career Conversations with WGI was born. Our aim for our Career Conversations series is to provide value to our audience in an open forum and platform where our professionals will share about life in the workplace and their early career experiences. We'll be discussing internships, job search tips, the importance of networking, and the value that can come through professional mentorship. If you like what you hear today, I'd encourage you to visit the WGI website, specifically the careers page on our website. We have a careers page specifically dedicated to students looking for internships and recruiting recent college graduates. So you can find more information about the opportunities that await at WGI at that website. Without further ado, today we are happy to have as our hosts 4 members from our civil engineering and land development practice. Erin Trevizo and Kassie Colander are from our Houston office. Hi, guys. Erin's a graduate of Texas A&M, and Kassie graduated from Lamar University in Beaumont, Texas. We also have Megan Amitrano and Aron Sandoval from our San Antonio office. Both Megan and Aron are proud graduates of UTSA, go Roadrunners. And among this group, Megan, Aron, and Aron were all interns with WGI. At least in the case of Megan, it was a predecessor firm to WGI that joined WGI later. And Aron Trevizo also has the unique experience of having worked in the Austin office, in addition to his current role in the Houston office. So that's exciting, and we may get into that today as well. Our civil engineering practice is one of the largest groups within WGI by both number of team members and revenue generated. We have civil engineering team members spread across the country, with many interns and new hires landing in places like Houston, San Antonio, Dallas, and Austin in the Texas market. And in Florida, we're hiring civil engineers in West Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale, and Tampa, among other locations. As we visit today, I would encourage you to ask questions at any time using the Q&A or chat tab on your Zoom browser. I will be reviewing them as we dialogue here, and as the questions come in, I will certainly insert them into the discussion today. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. Megan, I'll start with you. I would like if you would explain a little bit about what your team does on behalf of our clients. What does the day look like for you?
Sure. So I am on the commercial land development team here in San Antonio. When I started my career with WGI, that was back in 2016, and I've been here for like 4.5 years total. So it's a long time. When I first started with my internship, I remember sitting in this very conference room and not knowing what land development was. It's a very broad net that a land development engineer specializes in. So commercial land development, and we do projects in WGI that range everything from industrial to residential, multifamily, commercial, you name it, we can do it. So a commercial land development engineer answers the client's question of, can I build this project on this piece of land? And the best answer that we always strive for is yes. But there's a lot more that goes into being a commercial and commercial land development engineer than just telling your clients yes. So as a land development engineer, we explore a wide range of project scopes. So that starts off lots of times with the entitlements process. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, entitlements in land development would include everything from addressing a project to your zoning, and that answers the question, is this permitted on my site, to the state level entitlements of getting a plat facilitated with your local jurisdiction. So a lot of times, we start off with those entitlement services for our clients, and there are a wide range of entitlements I didn't mention. Some of them are assisting professional land surveyors with ALTAs, assisting with financing based on affordable housing. It's a really wide net. So once we kind of go through the entitlement services for our clients, and that's answering the question of, can it be built on this property, we offer services of design. So common design that we do in our office include wet utility design, which is your water and wastewater services, dry utility design, which is gas and electric routing for your project, in addition to stormwater drainage design. So that's those big detention ponds that you might see around your city. If you ever see giant culvert boxes, that's us. We also do water quality. So I know in Texas, that's a high concern with us. We've got a lot of rivers and we have a coastal line. So water quality is at the top of our priority list for ensuring that our clients are aware of and their development is complying with local, county, and state regulations. So on top of all that design, we also offer permitting services. So it's one thing to tell the client that this development is permitted on their site to go through the design, but now we have to go through a very intensive QC process. And that's with all those entities that I just mentioned. And it happens at that local level all the way up to the state level that we have to coordinate on behalf of our client's project. So some type of permitting includes your site work permits. So that would be like mass grading, tree removal, utility permitting for water, wastewater, dry utilities, and then all the way to your building permit. So that's where we get to work with a wide range of other professionals to make a site go vertical. And in land development, a lot of times by the time you started your entitlements and you've gotten to permitting, you are actively engaging with architects, general contractors, surveyors, a lot of other design professionals. So you can see where this is a wide net and we get to touch a lot of portions of the project. So after we get to permit, land development engineers also get to be involved with construction phase services. So that's my personal favorite part. It is so fun to finally see your design come to life. And so construction phase services could include anything from bidding the project with general contractors and subconsultants to being part of the actual horizontal and vertical design, responding to requests for information, approving and reviewing submittals for materials that we spec in our design, all the way to closeout items like as-built surveys to make sure that what we designed was built in field and is going to pass the test of time. So as a land development engineer, you have a wide range of responsibilities, and there are a lot of different directions that you can take your career, from design all the way to construction. So needless to say, I love it. I'm always excited to start a new project and be part of our land development team here in San Antonio.
That's great. That's a great answer. Thank you, Megan. Cassie, I'm gonna give you the next question.
Okay.
When you were a senior in college, did you know that you wanted to be a land development engineer? And if not, how did you matriculate into this field of work?
Yeah, I started civil engineering from freshman to senior year, but I also wanted to do geology, so I ended up majoring both. But I was very intrigued in like just the infrastructure improvement and the construction work phase. So I just stuck with that, and I'm doing it. And you know, every once in a while we'll run into geotech, and I'm like, oh yeah, geology. So mixing them both together.
Great.
But yeah.
Great. I remember I didn't know what it was. The first land development was the first job I had, and I had never heard the term in college. You know, I knew what real estate development was, but I thought as a civil engineer it was all roads and pipes. But it, you know, as Megan explained, it's a lot more than that, and you know, it's not something you generally take a class in at college because it kind
Right.
of on all aspects of civil engineering, including geotechnical work.
Yeah, water resource was very useful in college, and then surveying. So even though I had to go out there and sweat and set up the theolite and, you know, shoot elevations, like it really does come in handy, like just looking at grading sheets and interpolating points and just communicating on a surveyor level and using those terms. So those were good classes and courses.
Great, great. Aron Sandoval, you're next on my list. I'm going clockwise here, at least on my screen. You know, you had an internship at WGI prior to coming on full time. Tell us a little bit about how you know, chose your internship at WGI. How did you find it? How did you decide to take it? And how was that experience?
So that's probably like mine and Megan's like favorite story. So it's like there's also another question like just kind of like networking, and so I'm not too sure if this is considered networking, but landed me my internship, landed me my job, so it worked. So actually I had a previous friend who worked for Big Red Dog, so I would always see her post stuff, and like I knew she was a civil engineer, so I was like, oh, okay, like, you know, keeping my options open, just looking into a bunch of different firms and just getting my name out there and everything. And so I applied for Big Red Dog division at WGI initially online and everything, and I got an email from Megan. Hey, like, would like to set up a phone interview, like, how can we do this? And I was like, okay, yeah, great, like, I'm happy to hear back from someone. And then that coming week was actual career fair at UTSA, and so I still went, you know, trying to just see all my options out and everything, and I saw WGI Big Red Dog tent at the career fair. And so then I also looked at like the names of who was there, and I saw Megan, and I was like, okay, like, I don't know if she's doing my interview, but she contacted me, so like, maybe I should just go and say hi to my face. And I was nervous. I was so nervous. I was like feeling like sweat dripping down my forehead. But I just like went over there and I was like, hey, like, my name's Erin. I know you have, we have an interview literally the next day. Just wanted to come say hi. And when I went to go see her, it clicked. And so rewind, my sophomore year in college, I joined the TSPE chapter of UTSA. And so I would try to go to meetings every here and there whenever my other job in school like would allow it and everything. And the meetings when I went to, lo and behold, Megan was hosting them. And so I was like, okay, this is cool. Like, you know, awesome to see a girl like as a president within a engineering chapter of a well-known school and everything, you know, like that's just cool to see. And so I never really thought about it like freshman, sophomore year of college, but then when it came to introducing myself at the tent and then also with that interview, I was like, hey, like, would you by chance, like, you look very familiar, like, were you a president of TSPE or something? She's like, yeah, like, that was so long ago, like, yeah. And so we just kind of like kicked it off, and that's what started our conversation. And then we went into the phone interview, and like that, having that conversation with Megan really like broke the barrier. And although I was still so nervous for the phone interview, it just kind of helped calm down the nerves. And then we talk about it now in the office, like, yeah, I was so happy when you came in to me. Like, I just knew you were going to work in this office because of your personality and everything, like all this stuff. And so it was, yeah, it's like a fun little story for us to tell. What was our initial question? So yeah, the internship.
How was the experience once you were in the office?
So yeah, it was, so I guess just like very nerve-wracking. It was my very first internship, like super, super scared. My mom is in the IT field, and so she knows what it's like to be a woman going into a more male-dominant workforce. And so although she felt like she was prepping me and everything, she was also terrifying me because I was just thinking like I was going to come into a workforce where I wasn't going to be able to be myself, where I wasn't going to be able to be energetic because this is a male-dominant workforce, work kind of thing. I come into the office, hey, how's it going? There's no offices. Everyone's very open. Everyone's trying to give me hugs already when hugs were acceptable and everything, but like, yeah. And so everyone was just so friendly and opening, and it wasn't just like the women, it was the guys. And the internship, like I had a question, like I could turn around I could speak in front because Megan was luckily sitting right in front of me, or I could turn to my neighbor, Esteban, and ask him a question. The designers, I'm like, hey, I have no CAD experience. I mean, we learn it in school, but at least in UTSA, like it's very, very basic, minimal kind of CAD designs where you get here and you need to know CAD to kind of how to work in it. And so our CAD designers are very helpful teaching us stuff, like writing down little snippets for us, like go-bys and everything. So very hands-on, very hands-on, but at the same time releasing the reins to you to do what you need to do. And so they know like you're going to make a mistake, you're going to think this, but it's really that. And so everything's more of a learning experience. Even transitioning into full-time, still very hands-on, still very loose reins, but very much learning experiences. And so internship, how Megan talked about it, we are very big with entitlements. And I've lived in San Antonio for 23 years, but I had no idea the master development plans that San Antonio had, like all the NTPs, like all the detailed designs that the city accepts, not just like developers want to do, but the city accepts and has their own little plans that you have to go with and everything. And so it really was it still is an eye-opening experience to learn like all the in and outs of San Antonio. So internship very much helped me prep for my full-time, but I'm still learning. It's still a little newbie, but
I'm 20 years into it and I'm still learning, so that's a good sign. Sometimes I'm still nervous, so that's also a good sign.
Oh, definitely. A little nervous right now, so if y'all see some sweat, I'm sorry.
You mentioned your mother preparing you for what is perceived to be a male-dominated workforce. Was that a reality when you set foot in the office in San Antonio?
No, and again, we joke about this in the office too. Like I even went to a couple of like other interviews for internships, and I saw the people working there, and they were in suits and ties, like, and you could tell that was their 8 to 5, 9 to 5 job up every day. And as much as everyone looks nice in a night like tie and suit, and girls look nice in their little dressy, it's like not very comfortable. I don't know how people, especially because we sit all day, and that's like not always the best thing, and they're standing desks. But like if you're just going to be sitting all day, sitting in your nice $100 pants with your $100+ top, like, and so coming into here, and I saw everyone's still very dress work attire and everything, but not to the point where it's uncomfortable. And that was like my main concern, because that's what my mom was kind of prepping me for. And I've seen her in her clothes, and I know she's uncomfortable, and I am my mother's daughter, so I would have the same like comfortable. And it was complete 180 of what she expected me to. And like she still doesn't believe me whenever I tell her about like our work life and everything. She's just baffled by it, because she's like, what? That's not what I expected. My sister always jokes, like, she works for schools, and she actually has to, and it's not that we're not strict, but like her business is more strict and regulated on those kind of things versus here, where they really want you to be yourself. Like WGI is very big on being personable, being yourself, don't, all that kind of stuff. And so I was very happy to, one, get accepted for an internship and then full-time position, but two, finding the company where I don't have to worry about like, okay, I can't be loud or I can't do this. And I've had friends who go to their jobs, like their professional jobs now with companies, and they literally told me, if someone asked me how my weekend was, I would look at them and just turn away, like not really like conversate. Whereas every single Monday, how's your weekend? How was it? Oh, did you do this? Like, oh, I heard you were going to do this. Like everyone's so connected. It's an office, but it's a family at the same time. And it's like, very cool.
Well, if we had to be quiet in the office, Megan would have never made it. I wouldn't.
You know me for too long, Will.
Erin Sandoval hit on something that I'm gonna hand off to Erin Treviso, and that's the importance of networking as you're looking for not only your full-time job, but even for internships. The cliche we all hear as juniors and seniors in college is that, it's who you know in order to get a job, which, it's not, there's some truth to that, but there's also, the corollary to that is, it's up to you to widen your network and find those relationships. And Erin hit on it a little bit about attending TSPE networking events, career fairs and things like that. Being active on campus is important, but Erin Treviso, I want to hand that one to you and have you discuss, how important was it for you to widen your network and the networking steps you went through that first landed you in the Austin office and ultimately your full-time role now in Houston.
Of course, I'm going to try my best to follow up after such great responses from everybody. The pressure's not on at all or anything. But it was really just putting yourself out there is just such an important thing that learning in college will pay in dividends once you get out into the real world. And so it's so important for you to focus on all your classes and making sure you're getting those grades and learning all those technical skills. But what really puts you ahead and what really, lets you know what you want to do outside of college is through that networking and reaching out to your professors and then reaching out to social media platforms like LinkedIn or Facebook. There's just so many resources out there that I would really encourage you to go and look at. Being able to keep track of companies that you're really interested in. I know for us, WGI, we're constantly blasting out press release and we have such opportunity for our interns and full-time hires. So really reaching out is just a big thing. And one of the best things that I love to do is whenever I go to meet with a classroom or meet with a college and I get a follow-up email, saying like, oh, hey, like I enjoyed so much meeting you, or I saw you at the career fair and I thought, I could tell you really love WGI. So I want to reach out because that's the same thing I want to do whenever I, eventually transition over to the professional career. And so I love when people reach out to me. And then also, people that you are currently in class with, reach out to them, ask them what their internship experience was like. Maybe they had a bad experience with one company and, you're also in the same interest and don't want to experience something like that, then maybe it's best to shy away. Or maybe they had an awesome internship experience and you want to follow up with that as well. I can't tell you how many times at WGI we've had an intern reach out to some of their classmates and let them know how great of a time they had. And sure enough, we interviewed them and we hired them on as well as an intern. So once you kind of, I like to joke, it's some of the WGI Kool-Aid. Once you get a drink, you're going to start wanting to invite others. So really reaching out to people. We have a website. We have all of our employees on there. If you're interested in an office or maybe a specific role, just reach out to them. We have an excellent HR group they're willing to answer every question that you have. And they're always there for you to, if you have any questions on what type of work we have to do. They'll direct you to somebody we have, or what the benefits look like if you're looking more towards a full-time position. We're here, and always go check out our photo gallery. We do a bunch of fun and cool stuff. We really have excel in a lot of areas in terms of marketing, and our website alone is just a complete 180 from what it was 2 years ago, 1 year ago. And so I definitely would recommend for y'all to check that out and see all the opportunities there are. But for sure, really just put yourself out there. Worst thing that you can get is a no, and that's just for you to go down a different path.
Yep. That's a great answer, Aaron. Thank you. We have a question from the audience, and I'll offer it up to any one of you who want to address it, or if there's multiple answers, because I'm sure each of you have an answer to the question. And that is, how does somebody pursue a land development career knowing that in college there's not a land development class? They're typically taking a transportation engineering class, or a water resources track, transportation track, geotech track, survey type track. And that's a great question, and I tried to hint at it a little earlier, that there's very rarely a land development class, yet the majority of the civil engineering graduates may end up touching the land development field. So I'll hand that to you guys and let you kind of give your 2 cents on how do you take a general civil engineering education and turn it into a land development career.
Yeah, I can hit on that. So I did graduate in a general civil engineering program, but I started off with the internship, and we did public sector work, which was like roadway and stuff like that, and a lot of reports. So I did find that interesting, but then once I graduated, I went into water resource, which was a lot of linear stuff, profiles, working for cities as well. I did a lot of reports, water models, very technical, which I love. I would consider myself a little technical, but I also love production. So doing plans, civil engineering plans. So I requested to switch a department to just get into different fields like TPTO or transportation, and then as well just getting involved in different projects, putting myself out there, like Aaron mentioned, and just connecting with the project managers and pretty much selling yourself like, hey, I'm interested in this, and then they're going to grab you. Okay, let's go. You can work on this project with us, and then just putting yourself out there and your the curiosity out there. So yeah, and now I'm doing exactly what I want to do, which is residential and commercial. And that's where my passion's at.
Great. Is it a little faster paced than what you were doing in the public realm?
Yes. Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. But public sector work was like 2 years. Yeah, like I was doing the same thing, 60-hour work week, just on the same project. And then I kind of got caught up in like the nitty gritty stuff and not so much the bigger picture, which with land development, I'm looking at the big picture, like what's affecting the surrounding properties. And it's just so interesting. And yeah, it's very fast paced. And I think Megan mentioned it, but construction phase is like really cool. So from conceptual design all the way to construction phase, I've seen so many projects being built that I've helped on, even at conceptual phase. And yeah, the construction phase is a little bit of a headache, just because of all the issues that come up that you don't know what's in the ground because they're like in like 1970s and they didn't record it, and but that's usually the fun part too. It's rewarding.
Well, Cassie, I think you brought up like a really good point of like just all the, talking to your mentors around you in your office, because with land development, and I found this pretty fascinating as I was getting closer to taking my PE examination, is when I started talking to a lot of our professional engineers in the office, and I asked them, hey, I'm about to take the water and wastewater, the hydraulic PE exam. Which one did you take? You took that one, right? I mean, it's land development. We do pipes a lot, so you must have taken that. But you'd be surprised how many peers that we have that took their PE exams in construction, in transportation, in geotechnical. So my advice to college students right now that are, you know, maybe trying to source, like, how do I prepare myself for a land development career? It is, don't stick your nose up to any classes. Believe it or not, I actually have I took a elective course at UTSA in foundation engineering. That is traditionally something that maybe more folks who want to take like a geotechnical route take. But I'll tell you what, I pull out that book every once in a while, and it is so applicable. And it allows me to have conversations with all of my industry peers that much more smoothly, because I was an open and I was a sponge when it came to my courses. Because like I said, in land development, you're not just talking to other land development engineers. I talk with mechanical, electrical, and plumbing engineers, geotechnical engineers, architects, general contractors. All those people are part of the AE and C industry, and that's the architectural, engineering, and construction industry. We're all lumped together. So when you take your class in transportation, pay attention, because you're going to be talking to a traffic engineer in land development. And it'd be good if you guys could speak a little bit of the same language. You know, you don't have to have a big bite, but you can have a bark. So my advice to those students is be open, absorb all your classes, take the elective that interests you, because I can guarantee I never thought I would have to apply any of my foundation courses to what I do as a land development engineer, but all the time, I'm working with geotechnical engineers, and I can understand and absorb what they're saying, and I feel so much more prepared for that conversation because I was an open book.
I think that's absolutely true. I think, to get into the land development practice area, as a professional, it's almost like that happens to be the first job or the second job that you get, and you fall in love with it. But you will use your transportation course, you will use your environmental course, you will use the geotech course, your materials course, all of those things, and you really need to be well-rounded, not from a technical perspective, but if you have the civil engineering degree, what we're really evaluating is, can you manage a process? Can you interact with other consultants on the team? Megan mentioned the other professional consultants employed by the owner, but she left out, neighborhood groups and elected officials and news media. It's not unusual to have a member of a TV newscast call the office to figure out information for the 5 o'clock news broadcast. And you have to be able to think on your feet and interact with all of those stakeholders, land brokers, title companies, things like that. Law firms, no land development deal gets done without an army of lawyers working on it. And we have to answer questions for them as well. I want to go back to one thing Erin mentioned, and that was AutoCAD, CAD programs. Aron Sandoval mentioned that at UTSA they did not have an in-depth CAD training program, and you found that a surprise at how much you used it as a professional. I too graduated not having a CAD program. Our drafting course 20 years ago was hand drafting, even then, and AutoCAD was in full swing at the time. So, one of you, if you would, just comment on how, the enrichment you could take as a student in learning AutoCAD will pay dividends. And if you're too late, if you're already entering the workforce, how AutoCAD is necessary but can be learned early on in your career. So Erin or Aaron, I'll let you guys, one of you two, take that one, since Aron Sandoval teed it up.
I guess I'll start. So really just that was my biggest worry coming on as an intern and or full-time was I know we were going to have to deal with CAD, just because I was talking to all my other peers and they would talk about how much they were in CAD and everything. And again, I'm just a nervous wreck, and I'm freaking out because I need to know this and I don't know this. But again, everyone is very helpful of telling you oh no, this or this, and it really is, you're gonna have to struggle with it to learn, because once you struggle with it, then you're oh, okay, it becomes a little easier, but then you realize commands help you a little bit more, and then you find those commands, or someone else tells you, hey, this command works for me. I was actually working this weekend on my laptop at home, and I needed to import map parcels, and it just was not loading, and I was messaging with our CAD designer, and I try to get him to tell me steps to do it so I can do it and I can learn from it versus like, hey, can you jump in here and do it for me and I'll come in later kind of thing. So it's like, or I ask him to share screens with me since we're working apart from right now. And so I see and I write down every single thing. Like I have notebooks filled of just CAD and just different commands. And so, but this weekend it just was not working and he had already like signed off. And so I'm just like, oh, this needs to be done by Monday. Like I don't know what to do. And my boyfriend's actually a civil engineer too. And so I was like, hey, and he's a little bit more CAD friendly. So I was like, hey, do you know how to do this? Like, can you help me with this? And so he taught me a new command. And so him and I both kind of go in, like, it's so funny. Like, we just share CAD. It's our best time of our relationship. Just kidding. But we, like, you know, you just, you talk to people, again, who I used to sit next to, but now we're not because social distancing. But my neighbor was very good. He's a EIT, but he's very good with CAD. And so if he sees me, like, I remember as an intern, he saw me struggling with CAD. Like I was zooming in and zooming out, zooming in and zooming out, like trying to like do all these little points. And he was like, okay, well, if you do this, this, and this kind of. And so I guess my best advice would just be kind of, it made me laugh. I was thinking it before Megan said it, but like be a sponge, like absorb everything, but like let everyone, I tend to let everyone know like, hey, this is where I stand with this. So I'm going to, like, if someone gives me a CAD, like, hey, I have a task for you and it's very CAD related. And I'm like, okay, here are my CAD skills. I'm going to take longer. I'm going to try my best, but like something may be messed up. Or me and Megan have a thing where we save as CAD files. So we do not mess with anything. We do not mess anything. We can do what we need to. If it works, then okay, we can replace it. But like, we can kind of work backwards from there versus like trying to redo the whole thing. And so I know it's cliche, but I'm sure there's YouTube videos. It's 2020 now, like there's things that you can do. I always try at the very beginning, I would try looking up different ways to do stuff online. And I know CAD has like how-to steps. They're not always the best or like the straightforward, or they just like, there's a big gap between. It's like, oh yeah, you're supposed to jump from A to C, but no, you're supposed to do B and everything. So I'm still struggling. I know some other EITs like still struggle with CAD, and sometimes we just want to like flip our desk and throw the computers everywhere, but it's just a work in progress. And I know there's a bunch of other different programs that different firms use, different engineers use and everything. And so WGI uses AutoCAD. I know other people, what is it, like Microsoft? Some people use other things, but everything is just going to have to be a process of learning. So that's the best advice I could give.
Good.
Yeah, I think it's definitely worthwhile to really learn your resources first and then pursue your advancement in CAD skills. It's such a wide, diverse software, especially after, 20 years ago, maybe Will. But it's unimaginable trying to just go in and try to design something on the spot. You kind of have to learn at it, work at it, and learn your resources. For us, we're very lucky. We have designers that, used to work with us maybe 4 or 5 feet away that we could just ask them really close by, hey, how can I do this? How can I make this better? How can I be more efficient about this? And now it really hasn't missed a step working remote and just being able to share your screen or call them whenever they're not busy, of course. But they're always willing to give a hand. And very new to us for Big Red Dog especially is ProjectWise, and designers being able to set up sort of a workflow for us and get to learn more on ourselves. And I personally enjoy that a lot. I like learning from my personal mistakes, but I'm not gonna lie, I like having somebody who's 5 or 4 feet away from me or within, a team where I can just call up and ask them, hey, I have a tough deadline, how can I fix this, or how can I do this quickly? And we have such a great group that they're always willing to help. I think one last thing is there's always further advancement CAD lessons typically served at your college, so I would look into those. Most of the designers that we have came from technical schools just around the city that they work at. Here in Austin, we have ACC. In Houston, there's other HB, I forget which ones there are, but I definitely look into those. They offer a CAD class that you could take maybe over the summer or while you're taking electives or you're a little short on hours, just find a way to grow yourself professionally.
Those are great answers. Thank you. From the audience, Danny wanted to know, if any of you can answer the question, but of your passions outside of engineering, do you ever feel professionally like you're missing out on pursuing other passions by chasing your engineering career, pursuing your engineering career? So I'll open that one up to the field.
So I'll jump in on this one. So I've been doing commercial land development, residential thrown in there, industrial for 4.5 years now. Tested for my PE. I thought by that time, like, I could live my life. I'm gonna really separate work from play. I don't go anywhere where it's not a site visit. When you love what you do, it's one of those things where the two are blended in such a beautiful harmony. I love going out, and whether it's walking the dog and I'm looking at valves in the pavement, and I love taking pictures, and I'm texting my boss, and I'm like, it's a Saturday, I'm like, hey, I'm so sorry for bugging you, but what is this? Like, I can't drag and drop it in Google right now. It's not pulling up anything. So there's so much that in your career as a new professional, a young EIT, and that, do what you love, because you'll find that separation of work and play is really not that hard to define. It's going to be one of those things where I feel like I'm learning whether I'm on the clock or not. Everything that I do is a site visit. I'm always taking pictures, asking the question, Googling when I'm at brunch with my friends, why is that utility worker across the street doing that to that water main? Like, I gotta know, and that's what being an engineer is. We are super intuitive. We want to explore, and we ask the question about everything. So don't compare yourself to, the BuzzFeed blog about separating work and play. You're an engineer. It's going to be really hard because you should be passionate about what you do. And especially at land development, I know I don't separate the two, and I can't imagine that I ever would, because it kind of happens in harmony, and it happens by exploring what you're interested in and talking to your peers, and never get stuck doing the task at hand, because what you're doing is going to grow into something much larger in that moment. So keep asking, what's the next step? How can I apply this to the real world? When you look at a plan sheet, try to find it when you're out walking the dog, for instance. That's where I feel like I learn the most. Whenever I go out to site talking to contractors, it's asking the question, and then I'm driving around Texas with all of our, highways being redone at the same time, and I feel like such a smart aleck in the car telling people like, hey, you see that? Like, I know what it is. It's called an abutment. Don't ask me to spell it, but I know it. So that's my advice. Just the balance will come. Just love what you do, and everything will work out from there.
That's a great answer. If you do enjoy your job, the work-life balance question kind of disappears, and like Megan said, you're always working and you're always playing. When you're at work, you're hopefully having fun with people you enjoy being with. You're spending 2,000 plus hours a year with the people at the office, so you better enjoy being at the office, and when you're away from the office, keeping that inquisitiveness and keeping that drive to learn more and get better is important. So that's a great answer, Megan.
I want to chime in with if it stops you from pursuing other opportunities, it definitely does not, if you, like Megan said, enjoy what you do. But if you have a great team behind you to do it, like WGI, I was originally working in the Austin office during COVID, right whenever it started. I'd only been working there for a year after graduating in 2019. And so one thing that I really noticed as I evolved there was that I kind of missed being back home, and I missed some of the opportunities that I had in terms of relationships in Houston. And I really wanted to pursue that. And, I'm starting off in a new job, and I'm scared to ask, like, hey, is this something that I can pursue? Can I move to a different city? I'm so deep into projects in Austin that it's insane. How can I make that happen in Houston? And you always check in with your team leaders typically. And sure enough, I asked them there. I was super nervous to do it, but I wasn't that nervous either, because I knew how great of a team they were. But I asked them if I could get moved over to the Houston office, and when my boss said to me, Bailey, he said, when can you start? And so I was going in super nervous and, sweating a little bit, like Aaron said, on some occasions.
Too easy. What am I walking into?
Yeah. And so having a company, and especially during a time that's so tough like COVID, and maybe it even helped, sort of starting working remote and having people in different places and being able to communicate and still produce the same amount of work in the same amount of time is challenging, but we really haven't missed a step. And I even feel sometimes closer to my teams now because I can really communicate them and be more efficient with my communication as well. So never feel like you need to be held back on your interests and your likes and where you want to be in life.
That's a great point, Aaron. We have a question from the audience, and it's that this person is interested in doing more field work than office work. Do we have opportunities that allow you to be in the field often? And I'll start. On the civil side, we have construction managers, at least in the larger offices, who do go out in the field all day long and answer contractors' questions, troubleshoot things in the field, and to the extent it's more complicated, they bring it back to the design team in the office. So that is a definite role in the firm. And then we also have land surveyors who are, many of them are in the field all day long. One of my internships early on was as a land surveyor, and I know Cassie mentioned that also. That was a tremendous learning ground for me, was being in the field on the surveying side. So I'll ask you guys, if one or two of you want to chime in and just share how much you're actually out of the office, whether it's in the field on the construction site or down at the city permitting office or late nights at City Hall waiting for your public hearing to start. I know there's plenty of those. They're always a family favorite at my house. So I'll hand that off to whoever wants to address how much they're actually out of the office, but still considered to be an office worker.
Yeah, before COVID, it was about a 50-50 with me being out of the office. I was constantly at the permitting center. Like they knew me, like, oh, there's Cassie. At one point, like they thought I was another coworker of mine thought I was like the vice president. He was like the president, because we were over there so many times. So like, no, we're just, we're in Houston office. But constantly out on the field, like putting out fires on the spot. So, and luckily I'm able to do that with AutoCAD. So I'll sometimes go back to the office and just crank it out, fix it, and then send it back to the contractor and then have it corrected. And so he can get his elevations then and there. But there are big doozies where like it takes, the act of Congress at the city to convince them that, we need this ASAP. So again, I have that relationship with them and they're able to put me in the front burner and like help me out. So just having that good relationship at the city of Houston, which is our main clients for me. And then also good communication with contractors. So luckily I've had like a great experience like all around. So I didn't have, any issues with that. But yeah, I love the construction phase.
Like I know my personal experience, like Cassie mentioned, we're always putting out fires. Doesn't matter how good the design is, there's going to be a fire. And in our office, we like to joke, San Antonio, we have like 3 different watersheds. It's crazy, very similar to Houston. And so every time it rains, that is an opportunity. I think every time it rains, I'm always, hey, can we go outside? The site is not that far away. I got to see how it drains. Or, so it's really about talking to your team and expressing your interest. I really enjoy doing utility testings as well for water and wastewater utility lines that are going to be dedicated as public. And that's something that, I communicate with my direct supervisor and, hey, I got to do some wastewater testing. And that's you're out in the field 4, 5, 6 hours a day. And it's all about balancing what your interests are and then what the expectation is for that particular project.
Great. Thank you for that. Julia wants to know if any of you did not truly know what you wanted to do going into your junior or senior year in college. And if that's true, if you didn't know what you're going to do, somehow you ended up in land development. So how did you find yourself on that path?
I'll go first. So honestly, I completely feel you. I like, don't worry, like, do not be like in your head. I went to school initially I initially was going for environmental/civil engineering. Come to find out, UTSA, like junior year, when I'm already like halfway through it, their environmental engineering was not what was needed for you to actually become an environmental engineer. Like they didn't offer like the correct courses or the correct basic courses for you to even take your FE exam. So in my head, I was just like shot. I was like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do? Like, how am I supposed to move forward with this? Like freaking out. So I really I had no plans. I just, I want to go to school for environmental engineer. It's environmental and civil. I'm learning all different aspects and everything. And then when I got that news, I was kind of like devastated, but I was like, I got to keep moving forward. I have to at least graduate from college because I'm not going to change my major 2 years in and go through another 4 years or whatever. And so I finished through. And then again, I'm same boat. I didn't know what kind of civil engineer I wanted to be. I didn't know if I wanted to do structural or geotech or land development or any of that. I really kind of did process of elimination, although I did intake all my classes. I know structures was not my favorite. I pulled my hair out just a little bit too much. I almost went bald. Geotech, like all, like those classes I learned, I passed, but that's not what I wanted to continue my future doing. And then again, my friend was in land development for Big Red Dog, and so I kind of asked her what she was doing, and she never gave me like a very head on the nail kind of like answer. It was very broad, but then come to find out, land development is just very broad. You can't really give a specific definition of it. And so I just applied for a bunch of different positions of different firms. I did water resources because I would want to learn more about like more involved in water. I did land development, anything like that. And although I didn't know, I really had no idea I wanted to do that. Even when I came in as an internship, I applied for land development, and when they asked me, like, do you know anything about land development? I'm like, no, absolutely not. I will learn everything, though. I will take this opportunity. I want to know what it is. I want to know what y'all do. I want to know all this stuff, but like, I have no idea what this is. And again, just come to find out, you learn so much more, and it's really like city by city basis. Like, yes, we work in the San Antonio office. We're working, I'm working right now for New Braunfels developments going on. We're working for all these different, and then so it's not even just cities, it's different counties. If your project is within New Braunfels City, but it's in Guadalupe County, but it doesn't even have New Braunfels utilities, like there's just so many moving, like dodging parts, but at the same time, they're like hitting one another and bouncing back. And you have to learn how to like control that and work forward with that. And so if you don't know, especially junior, senior year, you still have a year, you still have the 6 months, you still have time. And although it's very ideal, as soon as you graduate, you want to have a job. If that is not in your timeline, and it's not that you don't want it to be in your timeline, it's just that's not what's in your timeline right now, don't psych yourself out, don't get hard on yourself, because that's just going to hold you back from going forward. You have to be positive. You have to keep looking. And one of my old classmates, he was holding himself down, so upset after each, like, oh no, thank you, like we're looking for someone else. But like, I just kept saying, hey, you're going to get it. Keep applying. Each application, eventually it will become a yes. And then he got it, and so I don't think anyone ever really knows what they want to do. You can say it, but once you get it and you go through it with a few months, years, whatever, and then you're just like, okay, like, yeah, this is what I thought it was, but maybe it's just not my cup of tea. And luckily, like, WGI is very big about, if you are not happy with something, but you are an excellent worker, you are an excellent part of WGI, all right, you want to go try a new field? Let's go try a new field. You want to go try more inspection work? Let's go try that. Right before COVID, we had like office kind of sit down lunch, and our PEs talk to our graduate/EITs, and we're like, hey, we want to hear from y'all what you want to do. And so we voiced, we want to go see more field inspections. I personally don't know every single terminology for every little thing. And so I would like to go see, this is this is that, this is how this goes with it. Like, you're seeing it on plans, but you're now seeing it in person. And so more field trips kind of thing, more site visits. And you just have to be very open with who you're working with and be like, hey, either this is working, or hey, I'm very interested in this. Can we go a little bit deeper into this? And then build off that. It's never, as much as you feel lost, like, there's ways to work around that and to find some sort of grasp and work forward with that.
Great answer. Danny wants to know, what advice would you give to a young engineer that's trying to move from Miami to one of the Texas markets in order to work in land development? and Danny, we actually have a planner, not an engineer, but a planner starting in the Austin office today who transferred from our West Palm Beach, Florida office. And I would also tell you, Danny, before I hand this to Aaron Treviso to answer, since he moved offices, that we have a office in Miami that is hiring engineers. So in the off chance that you would like to remain there in South Florida, there are plenty of opportunities for you there at WGI. So Aaron, why don't you shared a little bit about it, but you know, you moved from Houston to Austin to start your career, and now you've made the move back to your hometown, it sounds like. So what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, it's a lot smaller move maybe than Florida to Texas, but a move is a move regardless. And it really was probably one of the easiest big experiences of my life. You know, you think about sort of the safe haven that you establish between, you know, okay, here's my home, I'm in Austin, I'm starting off my professional career, my office, and I hate commutes, so I live like 4 or 5 minutes away from the office. I live 4 or 5 minutes away, and I want to keep it that way, and it just feels safe. And you know, when you start to think maybe there's something missing, and I want to move to a different state, or I want to move to a different city, you kind of start to wonder, okay, like, how can I make that happen? Is that something that I can manage? Is that something that my work will support? Because really, you know, it's a really big part of your life once you've graduated from college. Not to say it's everything, it's definitely just a component, but it really does weigh into a lot of aspects. And that's why, you know, being able to separate work from play and being really happy with where you are is just so important. And then I kind of, we had quarter reviews every year. And so my quarter review was coming up, and I was thinking, you know, I've thought about this a lot. I mean, I've really been thinking about this for the past year now, even since I started, and especially more towards the 3 more months. And COVID, I want to say, had really hit hard, probably 2 or 3 more months. It kind of lines up exactly, where I really started thinking, you know, it could actually become more of an opportunity for me. And so we were all working from home, and, you know, first it's challenging because you go from, you probably haven't seen our offices, but everything is so open. There's no cubicles. You're literally looking at the person next to you, which is super frowned upon nowadays. And so we've taken precautions in the office to space everyone out. So even though you really miss being next to that, you know, special coworker or somebody that you get to talk to and have just talk to and have fun and joke around with, you're just a little bit further away, and some people are still working from home. I thought it was a perfect opportunity. You know, we've already had 3 or 2 months of working remote, and we haven't missed a step. We are still hitting the same targets and goals that we set up for 2020, not knowing that this was going to happen. And I don't know if many companies can say that. You know, something like this happens, and, you know, there's a lag in production, there's a lag in communication and teamwork, but that really hasn't happened here for any of our teams that I've heard of. And that, I think, speaks volumes. It speaks so much about the team that you have, the family that you've created. And really, it felt like I was asking, you know, just a family member, like, I really want to pursue this opportunity. there's just extra relationships and opportunities that I want to pursue in Houston. How can we make that happen? And so between me asking my superiors, supervisors to moving, I think it was just 2 months. So that was, upending your whole world in 2 months and then moving to a new location. And I'm a go-getter. I was like, I don't want PTO. Like, I want to leave here Austin Friday and I want to start in Houston and be fresh there 7 a.m. So it's definitely, and it's awesome. It's, I had a family in Austin and now I'm starting to grow a family in Houston. And I actually sit next to Cassie now and we get to chat all the time.
Yep.
And so it's definitely nice meeting new people, and everybody, the culture is the same regardless of where you go. I'm sure if I upended things again, which I'm not saying I am, will, and moved to Florida, it would be the same, and I'd be greeted with the same, just as anybody else would in WGI in any office.
Great. Thank you, Erin. We're coming up on our hour, so I am going to thank you guys. So thanks, Megan, Erin, Cassie, and Erin. This has been a wonderful Q&A session. I've enjoyed the hour together, and I also want to thank our visitors, our guests who participated today. A recording of this session will be available on our website. You can also find it on our Facebook and LinkedIn pages once it's published. Before we wrap up, I would be remiss if I didn't remind our listening guests that this is just one in a series of our Career Conversations events. Coming up on October 6th, we will hear from some of our transportation engineers, and we're also attending virtual career fairs in the next couple of weeks at Florida State University on September 22nd, Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University and Florida International University on September 23rd, Florida Atlantic on September 30th, and Purdue University in Indiana on October 8th. You can find out more about the university career fairs that we are attending and register for our upcoming Career Conversations with WGI series events on our website at wginc.com/conversations. And of course, we're social at WGI. If you have not garnered that already, you can find us on all of the major social media platforms, including LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to visiting again and meeting everybody soon. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Hi, guys.
Thank you, guys. You did great.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.